Hello, this is Lars with another new to crypto, new to DeFi video, number 7 in our series here at the DeFiStandard.com, which is the online home of Mickey B. Fresh and all of his work that he researches and shares with us. So today I'm so excited to talk about Flare, and excited that I'm just going to say way too much. So instead, what I want to try to do is slow myself down, because I know that Flare is a really complex network to get our minds around. In the Telegram group, in the YouTubes that Mickey B. Fresh has shared, in the Zoom calls we've done, there's generally it's challenging to really get our heads wrapped around the Flare network. And there's good reason for that. It's doing so much. It has so many terms. It is revolutionary and new and totally worth whatever time you can give to understanding it. But I wanted to step back and say that something becomes valuable to the degree that it solves a problem. So if on a roadside, I said you can choose between these two vehicles. You can choose and have either a Jeep or a Corvette. And you might take the Corvette and drive away. But if I said the problem is, and the opportunity is that there's a gold mine up in those hills over there, and whoever gets to it first gets the gold mine. Well, all of a sudden you're much more interested in the Jeep. You know the problem that you're trying to solve. And so the problem that Flare is trying to solve is a really great place to start. And if you go back to the third video in this series, it was about sort of the three elders of our blockchain world: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. And Flare actually does the work of all three of those legacy or first initial blockchains that came on the scene. It combines and solves for the problems, for the benefits that they bring and the problems that they have. So let's take a moment to look at that first as the problem and the opportunity that Flare is bringing. So with Bitcoin is a store of value, and Flare stores value, and it does so in a way that's far more powerful than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has the problem that it costs a lot to transact on the blockchain, and it's slow. So Flare does the same thing. It stores value. It does it even better than Bitcoin, and it solves the problems that it's also fast and it's cheap to transact. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. That's the problem solved. Ethereum, the opportunity, as I said in that third video, that Ethereum brought was to bring programming, to bring smart contracts to blockchain. And Ethereum has been wildly successful for bringing that to blockchain. And so Flare also does that. In fact, Flare takes the open source Ethereum virtual machine, which is where the programming happens over on the Ethereum network, and that all the developers use to create their applications that run with Ethereum. Flare uses that same Ethereum virtual machine, EVM. So Flare can do the same thing as Ethereum. Ethereum's problem is it's not very fast. It's faster than Bitcoin, but it's slow, and it's very expensive. And it's becoming increasingly expensive because it's running up against how much it can process. It's not scalable to the degree that it's going to be needed. Now, they have solutions coming that are going to increase that, but the founders of Flare think really it's not ultimately scalable for as much value as coming. Well, Flare has made a hugely scalable platform that does the same Ethereum virtual machine, EVM, smart program capacities as Ethereum does. So it's solving Ethereum's problem and bringing over its same capacities. Now, XRP is very fast at transacting, as I said in video number 5. And it can move value around the world in a matter of seconds. It can do other things too, a lot of things that have been developed but haven't been put into process. But one of the things that XRP does not have is smart contracts. It doesn't have this Ethereum virtual machine. And something else that XRP needs is a lot of liquidity, a lot of value, so that it becomes a stable reference point for bringing value on and moving it around. So XRP brings the solution of speed and the movement of value, and its problem is that it doesn't have smart contracts. Well, Flare solves that. Flare has the same or nearly the same speed. It's actually a utility fork off of XRP, and that gives it many of the capabilities of moving value that the XRP ledger has. And it also has these smart contracts, and it's also a great store of value. So Flare has seen the problems in the world of blockchain and has come up with an incredible solution. So I'm going to dive deeper into the way that Flare has made this solution and why I'm so excited about it, why Mickey makes all these videos and dives deep into the pieces of the Flare network and the applications that are being built on them. But to begin here, I want to really simply just invite you, I guess, first to reflect on what I've said. I mean, not that what I've said is so wise or anything, but like for you to have that, to understand, oh, Flare's actually has created a network, created a system for solving the biggest problems in blockchain. Now, if you could solve the biggest problems in blockchain, you would have a chance to be a big player. And Flare has built a system that's hugely scalable. And it's not ever going to be expensive like Ethereum is to run. And it's always going to be fast like XRP is. And it's always going to be able to store value like Bitcoin is. If you had something like that to offer, a real problem-solving solution, that's what excites me. That Flare is bringing this to the table, and if they succeed, I think they're going to have an enormous impact, not just within the field of blockchain and crypto and DeFi, but on a global scale. All right, so that I think is worth reflecting on. And now just an opening up of Flare. Like once you get into it, you're going to hear terms like FXRP, FLTC, FTSO, signal providers, reward pools, all these different things that when I first heard of them, I really had to slow down and look them up and take them one by one. Now there is a website, flare.xyz, which is Flare's website where they have their white papers, their explanations, all of those things. I've spent lots and lots of time there and lots of time putting terms into Google and searching for definitions and making sense of that. Okay, so right now, instead of doing that, I want to just simply invite you to imagine that Flare has two major parts. One part is to invite value from different places and store it on the network. And truly, as I'll explain later, and you may already know, but this is an invitation. Nothing actually has to be done. So Flare, the first thing it did was to invite the value of XRP tokens onto the network. It does that by creating a connector over to XRP and didn't have to ask permission. It's not like XRP or Ripple or anybody says it's okay for our people to send their XRP over. No, It's just simply this connection that's created. And if it seems advantageous to a person who owns XRP to bring your value over onto Flare, you can. And you are also always guaranteed that you can take it back at a one-for-one value of whatever your FXRP is back to XRP. Okay, so they have set up, this is 1/2 of Flare in just the biggest, broadest terms. They have set up a way to invite value onto the network. So how big a deal is that? Well, the first thing they started out when they announced the Flare network back in late 2020 was that they were going to do this for XRP. And when you bring it over, it's a minting process and it becomes FXRP. That's its designation when it's on the Flare network. Okay, well, not long after that, they announced that Litecoin, they'd also built a bridge over to Litecoin and were extending the invitation to owners of Litecoin that if they wanted, they could bring their value onto the Flare network. Well, why would you want to do that? I own Litecoin or I own XRP. Why would I want it to be FXRP or FLTC? Well, back on their original networks, Litecoin and XRP don't have smart contract capability. So if you bring them over the value onto the Flare network, all of a sudden your XRP, your Litecoin, and other coins now, Doge and XLM from the Stellar project, they can come over as well, and others in the future will come too. There's a pretty significant talk that Bitcoin will also have this bridge made so that people can bring their Bitcoin and have it become FBTC. So just think of that one for a moment. All the others are exactly the same. It doesn't matter where the value comes from, whether it's Doge, XRP, or Bitcoin. This is revolutionary, right? We've made these distinctions between all of these coins, these value systems before. And once they come over to Flare, they're the same thing. They just have a different origin, a different history. And when you bring them over, you have the guarantee that one-for-one value, you can bring them back to your original chain. So if you want your FLTC, your Flare Litecoin, if you want to take it back and become Litecoin, for a very small administrative fee, one-to-one value, you're guaranteed you can bring it back. But while you have it over at Flare, you get smart contract capability. You get all of the capabilities of the Ethereum virtual machine. So DeFi and all sorts of different things are possible. Okay, this is the one side of Flare. And that's enough to just sit and have another cup of coffee with and really get that, oh my gosh, value that's been sitting there, just sitting there. Like if you have a Bitcoin, there's nothing you can do with it. It has value, but it's a store of value. Flare simply makes an invitation. It doesn't have to go talk to Bitcoin leadership or any leadership of anywhere. It just codes up an invitation so that if you own Bitcoin, you can mint it as FBTC. Sometime in the future, that'll be done. It's already been done for these other coins, like I said. And when it comes over, you now get all of the programmability, the smart contract ability that has made Ethereum such a powerful network. All right, before we leave this side, right, I told you there's two sides to Flare. So this is the one of them, bringing value on. And the reason people would want to is, you're going to get smart contract capability. Now, there's an additional reason to want to do that in the beginning, and we'll talk more about that. These are the rewards that you can earn when you mint FAssets. Don't really want to get into that right now, But the ultimate value proposition is when you bring your tokens over, they get smart contract capability, and they also get collateralized by the Spark token, by the Flare, FLR. So about 70% of all of the tokens in existence do not currently have smart contract capability. That means they can't really do DeFi on their own. They're simply sitting there doing whatever their function is, what they've been created for, like XRP was made to transfer value, move it very efficiently. But when you make FXRP, when you bring it to the Flare network, you add smart contract capability. It's a huge proposition. And if Flare is successful in attracting these blockchains that don't currently have smart contract capability, that will be an enormous benefit and very attractive. So like 75%, 65% of current blockchains don't have smart contract capability. In the future, you may have heard that like stocks, securities, even commodities like gold and silver already are starting to be tokenized. But gold is, people have called Bitcoin digital gold. Well, gold, physical gold, is a definite store of value, right? It's the most revered store of value that we've ever had for thousands of years. But it's only a store of value, right? It's very difficult to move it around. It has very low velocity. It certainly doesn't have smart contract capability. But when commodities like gold and silver, or securities like stocks come over, or things like real estate come over, they're going to have smart contract capability on the Flare network. This is why a lot of people are super excited about the Flare network. You're going to bring programmability to all sorts of different of the world's assets, and they're going to be stored on one network. So Flare is playing a huge game. If they're successful, it's going to transform value and the way it's seen in this world. So that's the one side. And that's enough, right? But the other side is it's a sleeper. But the CEO, Hugo Philonon, has called this other side the beating heart of the Flare network. And it's a very, very simple proposition. They're providing pricing for these assets that they bring onto Flare. And we'll go into it more. It's called the Flare Time Series Oracle. And it's a decentralized way. Remember, we talked about decentralization earlier? This is a decentralized way of providing pricing for these different assets that come onto the Flare network. So we could go into that more. I will go into that more. When I first heard it, I thought, that's no big deal. So what? Pricing is pricing. But if you have centralized pricing, it means you have to trust someone. And if somebody can get that wrong, somebody can take advantage of that, well, then you have a chance to cheat. There, to date, have been no fully decentralized pricing systems in existence. Now, some are more centralized or less centralized, but Flare has created a fully decentralized price oracle. So we'll be getting into that more, but imagine that. Now you've got a one-sided Flare network to bring value onto the network. Everything from XRP to Bitcoin to gold to real estate to stocks. They bring even just the tiniest bit of that on. Spark, the 100 billion Spark that exist, are going to have to carry a high price, a high value. If they're going to collateralize, which is the proposition, they're going to back all this value with the value of Spark. And on the other side, You're going to provide trustless, which means it's trustable pricing for all of these assets, one against the other. Now, the dollar has done that job in the past and currently continues to be the world reserve currency, the reference point of one thing against another. But certainly the dollar is a centralized fiat value, right? The US government, the Federal Reserve, the Treasury, Congress of the United States, a centralized way of doing this pricing. And there's a lot of issues with using the dollar as our world reserve currency. If you had fully decentralized pricing of one asset against another, you could trust this fully decentralized way of doing things. Again, like bringing all the value on board, this is an enormous proposition, and Flare has created a system to do this. So if Flare is successful in attracting value, and once it starts to attract value and people see the value of it, if it's successful in this becoming just a system that just gathers momentum, Flare is going to be huge, enormous. And so I'm going to, in the next videos, take time and break down the different parts of it, the FAsset side, the value side, the FTSO side, the pricing side, and the reward system that's going on. And one of these videos here, you're going to be ready to dive into all of the material that Mickey has put together about the Flare network, Flare Finance, the applications, and how this all works together. I'm just trying to give you sort of that big picture. Oh yeah, I've got a feel for this, because it's difficult to put all of this together and go like, oh, I got a feel now for how this works. So that's what I would like to try to share with you and to help you have. And people have been great about putting comments in these videos, so put your questions there. If you have other images that are working for you, go ahead, put them in the comments, and hopefully this conversation can continue and we can grow from taking the time to dive into the Flare network. All right, thanks a lot. I'll be back with another one and look forward to what you have to say. Thanks, bye.